Felix, I appreciate you come on to my new podcast here, and I recently
Thanks
stumbled
for having
upon
me.
your yeah, I recently stumbled upon your channel, the Mod Squad Network, and I tell you, I'm a big fan of it, and I really appreciate you guys having me on as a
Thank
guest.
you.
It was a big honor, and so yeah, this channel's just kind of born out of the passion of what we're doing here, creating content. And the question that I ask everybody in the beginning is what was that first video that you uploaded, and why was it that video, and what was the experiences after you uploaded that video?
Um, Long story long, actually. I'll say long story short, but it's going to take me a bit. The Mod Squad actually stemmed the channel I'm affiliated. Me and Kevin are with um, through the Bandbox. The Bandbox is a subscription box company. If you like, we were just talking in prep. I'm a big pop culture guy. I'm a big autograph guy. I'm a big movie news guy, and when BAM came out, they offered a celebrity autograph, a prop from a movie or TV show, just a bunch of knickknacks in a subscription box, monthly box. So I went on. I was like iffy when I heard about it. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Nah, that can't be true. So I went on YouTube and looked at some unboxings, and I'm like, this is first of all, it's a legit thing, which it was, and then I'm like, I saw some of these unboxings and I'm like, I can do a better job than that. I could do a better job than this. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? I would do it like this. And I'm like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. So I started doing unboxings for the Bound Box. My first one was a fire sale box. We did it outside just because of the lighting. And my kids actually helped me, my nephew, and my son, and I edited, I threw it up. Didn't get a lot of clicks, but I did get that ignited, the little bit of fire in me. So I started doing some more unboxings. I did from other subscription boxes. Well, from BAM, came to Facebook in a community forum. I became one of the first moderators to help, Adam, the CEO of BAM, with the community, and from there, that's ultimately spun the Mod Squad, where we came from, which kind of our name, moderators. The Mod Squad is came out of that, but I'm assuming you're gonna ask me about that separate. So
Yeah, go ahead and get into what talk about that community, and how you guys just were, came together and started
yeah,
your own.
we were moderators, Kevin and I, and Bam became. They started advertising themselves as an experience. Well, Kevin's like, we can help with that experience by creating our own content, pushing BAM. He's the one that went to Adam, or I think Paul at the time, or yeah, I believe it was Paul, and they okayed us to become, kind of like a extended, part of the experience, where we would talk pop culture stuff and then ultimately talk about the Bam Box, what's coming from the Bam Box, basically an advertisement for the Bam Box. And I wish I had Cujo in here. Like, makes me miss my baby. Um, so that's kind of we started on that. Eventually, we separated from the Bandbox, which we started doing our own type of content, basically staying on the pop culture side of it, and that's where we are now. We're doing the movie show. We talk about movie news. The horror show. We talk about horror movie news, basically. Um, we have a gamer show where we talk about gamer news. Then, of course, conversations, something we just started. Kevin. See, in the beginning, Kevin and I would always do our own, just him and I. When we went away from BAM and started doing our own thing, we kind of started doing shows apart from each other, except for our live. We always did the live together, which we have a live every Saturday night with a giveaway. Um, so we wanted to get back to doing something, him and I, since we're the ones that started the Mod Squad, and we started conversation showers where we met you, where we ask other content creators the exact same questions. And how do you ask everyone the same questions and it be fun? You said it yourself earlier. You like went through all the videos, all the other conversations after yours because you just the answers you get are really. And another thing we talked about in prep too is like I wish I would have said different things from the
Yeah,
onset. I believe I was the very first one, then Kevin, and then there we opened it up to other content creators. But I wish I would have said different things. Not that it matters, but
yeah, yeah. That's the great thing about it, though. I think that's what keeps people interested because you get all these answers, and like you may have a different answer depending on your
yeah,
mood. And I really like,
your life, yeah, your
yeah,
life
where you're at.
style, everything, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and I think it does. The questions do bring up some personality
yes,
things
yes.
that you see people's personality, and yeah, no, I really enjoy watching it, and you guys have got a big fan now for sure. Um, so
Thank
what
you.
was what was the remember as a kid? Like I could tell you why the dogs and the spoken word were so important to me as a kid. It just spoke to me. What was the uh, you and I are probably in the same age range. Do you remember like the that first movie you got on VCR, VHS, and what was the spark for you? And talk about that. That
Becoming a film fan, pretty
Yeah,
much.
like is it
Yeah,
you remember just going to the
it
local
was.
video store to pick up a and just being so excited?
There was a video store, and I'm gonna jump around here. There was a video store down the ways from where we lived, where I grew up, and it was called Focus Video. And we would go there and we would rent, movies, games. Actually, we would rent games. My nephews would come over and we would play video games all night long. We would play Tecmo Bowl, is one of that. We would play the season in Tecmo Bowl, and we would literally play, all night long, all morning long till we got to the Super Bowl. Hopefully, it would be two, one person against another person, but if not, we'd play against the computer or whatever. And we always did that. But yeah, movies. My kids are like me. We're big on horror because of my mom. Um, my mom, at a young age, Halloween is my favorite movie of all, horror movie of all time. It because of my mom. It makes me remember the first time we watched it. She kept asking me, "Are you scared? Are you scared?" No, I'm not. I'm not. She always cover my eyes on the bad parts, and then we would go to the theater. There was a theater not too far from where we lived as well, where I grew up, and we were always going to the theater, and that's where I think I got my the hooks in me and being a movie fan and being a horror fan. My mom also got me into as a kid. I don't know if you watched Unsolved Mysteries or not, but as a kid, the music, Robert Stack's voice, I don't know what it was, or the stories, it would freak me out. That would scare me because to me that was more real life than what movies were. And I love true crime now, and I think that spans from my early memories, from my mom and such. The earliest movie I remember seeing is honestly Footloose. Why? I don't know. That one, and then um, Friday the 13th, part five. I think that's the one where Jason's not really Jason in it. It's the guy in the mask. But for whichever came first, those are the two movies I remember watching in the theater first. But yeah, huge. And then if you guys know my history, if you watch the Mod Squad at all, I'm always quoting soap operas from the '90s because of my mom as well. Soap operas were always on. It's not that I sat there and watched it, honestly, but they were on. So I just heard when I was on the floor playing with my cars and stuff, my He-Mans, my Voltrons, just on the background was the soap operas. So if you'll see me from time to time throw out soap opera trivia, just when a certain star comes out or something, I'm like, yeah, they started on All My Children in the early '90s. They were in this storyline and yada yada yada.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah, my mom is a huge part of that, and this, and honestly, my kids too. My speaking of Halloween, my oldest would watch. He would watch when my mom would watch him. He would watch the VHS of Halloween. He'd watch the movie, be in diapers. That's how young he was. He would hit rewind and watch the whole movie in rewind. When you hit rewind in VCR, how you see all the white lines and if people are walking backwards really quick and stuff. And then it would get to the beginning, and then he would watch the movie again over and over. Like my oldest, his favorite movie is Scream and the Saw series. Saw series was huge. We would watch like the first Saw came out. When the second Saw came out, we would watch the first Saw, and then when the third Saw came out, we would watch the first and the second Saw just before we went and saw the new one. Basically, we would binge the following movies prior. So when we were seeing Saw seven, I think we would binge Saw 1 through 6. Within a few weeks of when we went to go see the next Saw. And if you know anything about the Saw series, it's a continuous storyline. Sometimes from one movie would pick up literally from the beat of the last movie. Excuse me. So that's just another thing that with Scream and Saw, and then my youngest like the which this kind of spawned my favorite anything though is The Walking Dead. It's my favorite show, my favorite comic, my favorite McFarlane toys. He made the toys for the figures toys for The Walking Dead, and that spawned from my son loving the old Dawn of the Dead. He liked the original Dawn of the Dead. Then when Zack Snyder's remake came out, he really liked that one as well. So that I'll always remember the day. It was Halloween, um, 2010. My mom was going to take the kids out, walk them around, and we were like, "Well, hurry back because there's supposed to be a new zombie TV show coming on AMC." And we sat there and we watched it. And then when the kids came home, we watched it. AMC notoriously plays it like that. So we watched it, and then we watched it again with the kids, and then we're like, that was pretty good, wasn't it? Yeah, let's see the next week. So we watched it the next week, and we started watching The Walking Dead from literally day one, and that spot, like again, that's my favorite. Anything, ask me anything about Walking Dead, I'd be able to go on forever. I know all the ins and outs. I've dissected that show, but that's kind of so. My mom is a big contributor to what um, just movies in general. I remember always watching again VHS's The Fugitive, and then she explained to me how it was from a TV show that she used to watch, and that kind of like I was like, "What? This was a TV show?" It just my little mind at the time couldn't grasp that now there's a movie with the guy from Star Wars. Um, you know that for that there used to be a black and white TV show back. I think it was black and white back in the day, and it was just like little things like that. Even in school, I would say if I was having issues learning a certain uh, criteria, like not really math. I was really always good with numbers, like reading and such. And there was a test coming. My mom would always, she knew how I was with TV shows and movies. We, she would always like say, and I'm just throwing this out there. This was never one of them, but like if just to give you a gist of what I was trying to say, if Michael Myers kills three people, but one of them doesn't really die, how many people did he ultimately kill? And it was two. So not that per se, but we would mix movies and TV shows into me learning, and that helped because I couldn't remember this, you know, my phonics or the A, B, and C, except after V or whatever that is. But I could remember everything that happened in the 18, you know, that we would watch that weekend prior. So for some reason, she mixed that up with me, and I think that's where all the and then like the fugitive thing, like I was saying, that sparked the whole trivia part of me. Now, if there's a movie I like, I dissect it. You know, who directed it, who produced it, who starred in it, what else did they star in, um, any just any trivia from that said movie or TV show, and it kind of spun that also spun out to my kids because when my kids like something, they'll look in, and sometimes they just we're watching something like, oh yeah, did you know this, that, and this? I'm like, we're just watching this for the first time. Did you already see this? Like, no, but we already knew we were gonna see it, so I looked into it. And they looked into it, so they picked that up from me and my mom as well. But yeah, that's kind of where my love for pop culture and movies and my movie show pretty much stemmed from.
Yeah, I remember having those same kind of feelings with my mom as far as like the types of shows that she would watch. Sometimes I would be like, "Oh God, please don't," but um, other times I was like, the older I got, the more I was watching the same kinds of movies as she was. Um, I do have kind of a funny question because I have a specific answer for me, but what sitcom from the 70s or 80s do you watch whenever it pops on? It's just like the channel stops and you just start watching a few episodes.
Not that I do often, but maybe like 10 years ago, if something was on, I mean, I know what you're saying. Um, Gilligan's Island, I was always huge Gilligan's Island. The 66 Batman series, um, Three's Company. I've tried to watch like shows I did like in the 80s, Growing Pains, not Growing Pains, yeah, Growing Pains, The Facts of Life, Benson. I've tried watching those, and again, not recently, like maybe 8 to 10 years ago, again, and I couldn't. But the ones that I still can sit there and watch is like Three's Company, Gilligan's Island, and oh, and Batman. The ones I can still watch is the 66 Batman, Three's Company, and yeah, but and also Unsolved Mysteries, which I don't know if you know this, but Netflix started up the that show again, and I loved. And I know I'm jumping around here. I love that the credits, the beginning credits, the silhouette. You can kind of like it silhouettes into Robert Stack's figure. I thought that was an awesome touch. I'm getting goosebumps just saying that. I thought that was an awesome touch to that.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't. I don't know if I was a fan as a kid because, unlike you, I was a scared little weenie. But I would be mesmerized by that show. And it's funny that you bring up Three's Company because that's the show that I can't stop watching it. Like I know all the episodes now, but I love it. I love the early episodes. I love the later episodes. Just for whatever reason, that show just speaks to me.
I don't know if we were talking about it on your interview or not, but who did you prefer, Chrissy or Terry? And not in that way, just as a the character, what they did for the show.
Um, I like them both. I really
You know
do.
what?
But I
I should really use that for my this or that rapid fire.
yes,
Grease Company, Chrissy, or Terry. And see what people say.
that'd be awesome, especially in our age range and
Yeah,
older. Um, I would probably say Chrissy on both levels.
I figured. For some reason, I was more of a Terry guy. I don't. She was more, even though you could say believable. I mean, the whole scenario, Jack Tripper, they were all cartoony, Mr. Furley. But Terry was just for me. Chrissy was just like the believability, even though it's a slapstick, literally comedy, there's got to be some. I'm like, people don't act like that. To this
Yeah,
day, we're watching something. I'm like, people don't act that way. Like another thing is, no one closes the doors. Like if you watch TVs and movies, notice that no one will ever close the door.
close the
I'm
door.
like, close the door. Why don't they? It's something simple. It's not even about that. They're like, how come they don't close the door? People don't act. People close the door. At least that's the way I was raised. You know what? I take it back. People don't because my nephew leaves it open all the time. Never mind. I take that back.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing. Now I'll be seeing that all the time when I watch that show. You do bring up a good point about like Terry, though. I think that she did add some like realism to it, and I would probably say maybe my favorite episodes because I was a Roper fan. I like
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Roper a lot, and then I loved.
I think that's what we were talking about. Was it the Ropers or Mr. Furley? Who did you prefer?
Oh, that's so tough because I would say Furley because I'm a big Don Knotts fan.
Same, same.
Yeah, I'm a huge
But
Don Knotts fan.
again, looking into that, you heard about the Ropers, how they got kind of the short end of the stick on that deal.
No,
'Cause
I didn't.
when they were going to make the Ropers, they can do a spinoff of
Right.
it. They didn't want to leave Three's Company. They're like, we don't want to do this spinoff. They're like, we're going to do a spinoff. It's just going to be you and your wife. They didn't want to do it, and they're like, you know what? We'll try one season. If you guys don't like it, doesn't do good in ratings, whatever. You can come back to Three's Company. So they left Three's Company and did the Ropers. It didn't catch on. I don't think it got past the second season.
No.
And when they wanted to come back to Three's Company, Mr. Furley was so popular, they were like, uh, no, basically. And they just got the crap end of that stick. And I feel bad for them because of that. But I did like Mr. Furley, a little better. Like you
Yeah.
said, Don Knotts friend. Because again, like growing up and like you were saying about the different TV shows, the Andy Griffith show was one
Hmm.
I was watched with my mom as well. So I was a big Don Knotts fan.
Yeah, I loved his movies that he did. I just yeah, everything that he came out with, I watched for sure. Now that's interesting because I was a big fan of the Ropers too. I'll watch that all the time if that comes on.
Yeah, so that's what happened to them. Which
Yeah, that's cool.
after I found that out, I'm like, that kind of sucks. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Yeah, I looked into all of their backgrounds too, all the cast members. So yeah, they all seem like interesting people.
yeah.
Um, um, yeah. Do you remember like a big thing back where I'm from was we didn't have a lot of money, so I loved going to the movies. That was the thing. Um, so we had this movie theater called the Hollywood Movie Theater. It was in a part of town in Portland called the Hollywood District, and we would take public transportation because they had second run movies, and it was like $1 or $2, and then we were able to buy a pop and some
Dollar
popcorn,
Tuesdays, yeah.
and then we would be able to. They were pretty lackluster on their security. And then we'd be able to sneak in and watch another movie. So we'd always do a double header for $2 or
Yep.
whatever. So was there a theater like that where you're from?
Yeah, that's theater. It was Valley West Mall. It like I said, it would the Tuesdays was like dollar Tuesdays, $1.50 or dollar Tuesdays. I don't remember. Basically, really cheap to go on Tuesdays. Once you paid to get in, like you said, they didn't care. You can go, you can hit every movie there, and as long as you buy more popcorn and soda, they didn't care. But Valley West Mall famously blown up for Eight-Legged Freaks. I don't know if you've seen the Eight-Legged Freaks with David Arquette. David Arquette. Dewey from Scream. He they at the end of that movie they blow up the mall and where all the little spiders are from, and that's actually the mall, Valley West Mall, that was like growing up in Glendale, uh, Arizona. That was the mall that all the kids went to. That's where we always met. That's where I met my best friend. Um, that's where I famously walked out of. I'm not a huge, being a huge movie person, and again, it has to go to the believability of no one acts like that. I'm not a big fan of Adam Sandler, and we went to go see Billy Madison. Billy Madison? No, it was yeah, I believe it was Billy Madison, and we walked out of. Me and my girlfriend walked out of it because we just couldn't get into it. And I think I even said it then, no one acts like that. No matter if you're a brat or not, you don't. So ever since I walked out of that movie, I never been a big fan of Adam Sandler. Just because to me, I think he's funny, but he's just a hair over the top. So like even Jim Carrey, love Jim Carrey, but I can't take away that he's just that much. No one acts that way. But that's just me though. But yeah, that's the mall. That's the movie theater. I don't remember what it was called, the movie theater, but it was the one in Valley West Mall. And then right next to it, now that I'm remembering, my mom would love this because she would love her hot dogs. They would it was part of the theater, but it was like a hot dogs shop where they sold hot dogs and popcorn and soda, and you were able to buy food there and then take it into the theater because it was like the same owners, even though it wasn't connected, but they were. And we would always buy our hot dogs and such there, buy a popcorn over here, and then go to the movie theaters. But yeah, if I can remember that, it was maybe Great Something, the theater itself, but it was the one in Valley West Mall in the early '90s and the '80s.
Yeah, no, good memories, isn't it? Just different times. I really
Yes, yes,
I sit back. I love like it. Some might say that I'm addicted to the internet. I just love having everything to my fingertip. I'm not gonna lie, but and I love technology, even though I'm not like super proficient at the new stuff. But I still love it, and I love learning about it. But I do miss at least some of that
simpler
culture that we
times.
lost. Yeah, I really
Yes,
do. It's just great memories. Just going out with your buddies and spending a summer afternoon going to the movies and not getting into any trouble or anything like that, and just enjoying yourself, and then coming home and playing Nintendo, and just great
yep.
times, man. Yeah.
S- Speaking of which, just because I found these and I showed them off in our the show on Saturday, and I have them sitting here. Speaking of old times and '90s and stuff, I still have
Oh
my
my god.
pagers from back in the day.
Wow, man. Wow, look at that. Oh, that brings back some memories. I was so jealous over you guys with the Beavers.
I had 2 of them,
My
but,
my
a
mom would have never let me get one, and I didn't want to
green
work for it.
green's always been my favorite color,
Yeah,
so back in the day, I had to have.
the green ones.
Yeah.
Always thought you guys were so cool. Like I was like, man, why can't I get
We
one?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot back then, but my mom did do everything she could to get us what we wanted or needed, especially for Christmas. We always had huge Christmases, even though, say, if we had shoes where we had to put gum on the bottom of it because they kept talking, as like we would say, your shoes talking, um, to hold it together or hand me down clothes. I was the youngest of 10, so my whole wardrobe was hand me downs. But Christmas, we always had a huge Christmas. So that's one thing. She always made sure whether she had to borrow money or save throughout the whole year, and because of that, because of the struggle, as a kid, I would open my toys. If you know me, I'm known as a inbox collector now. From the early '90s to now, everything. First of all, I keep not that I keep everything, but if something was given to me or if I worked for something and I bought something and I'm like, I worked to save money to buy something, to me, I can never see myself throwing it. Say if it's a card from from a friend from 20 years ago. They went to the store, they bought this card for me, they gave it to me for my birthday. They might not even remember they bought me this card, but 20 years later, I'm still going to have this card. So it's not like I'm a big, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not a softie, but to me, it means more than what it should. But
Sentimental.
sentimental, that's the word I was looking for. So, and then with my mom, I see what she had to go through to get us the things. Then I was a kid and I would open my toys and I would feel bad. And I'm like, why do I feel so bad opening this Ninja Turtle? I'm like, I need to not, I need to take care of it. I need to not kind of basically cherish, but I just feel bad, lack of a better word. I need to hang on to this. So therefore, I'll send you again, late '90s to right now. I can pull out a toy and it's still in the box, still in good condition because um, I took care of the things. For the lack of a better statement, that's just seeing what my mom had to go through and learning the work, and then like the sentimental part. If someone does something for you, you need to appreciate it, and that's just the way I feel I am. So
That's interesting because the big difference between you and I is I was the only child, so I do feel that way, but there are moments in time where the only child comes out at me, like there may be some entitlement, and so when I hear stories like yours, that people who came from larger families and even probably more modest means than myself, I I I realize that some of the things I do is directly related to being an only child, and obviously what how you take care of your stuff is probably, yeah. I saw that with my dad. Like, he grew up very modest, and so his things were always taken care of very well.
so you were an only child then?
Yep. Honestly, and I'm very conscious of this now. Um, Sometimes in the moment, I can get lost in my own, like, animal brain or whatever you want to call it, and I won't think about what I'm doing, and I'll just go off of my emotions. Then I realize, God, that's not how my wife works. She's got a sister, right? She grew up with a sibling, and she was close with her cousins, and for me, I wasn't I was the youngest out of all my cousins, and then um, My mom and I was a latchkey kid on top of that, so there are certain things that like playing video games. Today cannot stand playing video games online or anything like that because it's just a personal thing with me. The only time that I would play is like if you guys talked about playing all night long in a tournament style. That's what we would do with FIFA soccer. That was the thing. Like we would play each other or the computer, and I loved that fact that we didn't have to play each other too.
Yeah, because when we would do the tournament, like I
Yeah,
said, we would either
so great.
play each other or the save. I mean, there was only like seven of us, six of us,
Yeah,
so there's what 20 some odd teams
yeah,
in the NFL. So we there's a lot of times throughout the night where we were just playing the computer, but we would let it happen. And like I said, hopefully it would be like me against my brother for the Super Bowl. There was a lot of times where it was just one of us, and then the computer for the Super
yeah,
Bowl. Or if we wouldn't make it to the Super Bowl, it'd be computer on computer, then obviously we wouldn't sit there and watch that. But we would, start the season over again and we'll do it all over again if we had
yeah.
the
Yeah, we would do the World Cup, and I would always be Ireland, and one of my buddies would always be Germany, and the other one would be the USA, and like if one of us got kicked out and the other one was still going on to the champ, we'd be rooting for him. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It wasn't like a pure competition thing. It was just like,
We did that too. We rooted for each other unless we were playing against each other.
oh yeah, no,
When
yeah,
we were
there'd be,
playing against the computer,
yeah,
yeah, we would totally.
yeah, just great, yeah, awesome stuff. And so yeah, when you talk about those sorts of things and
You
bring
know
up
what?
and
To this day, I'll always say that my brother made fantasy football. What I mean by that is back in the day, we used to play, we were more into football and I mean baseball back then as well. Um, we would all pick our players, our first base, second base, shortstop, yada, yada, yada. We would all have our teams. And what my brother would do every day is get the newspaper and we would get points by how many RBIs they made, home runs, and literally runs. So you would get a point for each one of those. And then say if your team didn't play that day, then he would like hold the points over to the next day. He would get the newspaper. He would open up the newspaper. We would, and again, we didn't have what we have now. There was no computers. There was no, you can watch any movie at the click of a button and all that. Back then, we had like only a few TVs in the house, and if the adults were watching TVs, we were SOL. So we had to think of something else. And that's what we used to always do that. Then my brother brought it on to his friends, and then it got bigger from then. And then 10 years later, what's this fantasy football you speak of? And I'm like, we made that. My brother made that. So I'll always say my brother made fantasy football as what we have today. Obviously, not to this extent, but he did it like old school newspaper hours researching, doing numbers and points and all that. Yeah,
yeah, that was kind of my inner nerdiness was based on sports. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I love that. The only sport that I loved to the point where I could tell you every single player back in the day
soccer
was NHL. I'm a huge
or
hockey
hockey.
fan, and nobody wanted to play fantasy hockey, and now it's a thing. I could go up there and a bunch of Canadian kids that are playing it, and I'm like,
Yeah, and
man, I wish I
one of my fantasy leagues, we got a guy that is from Corey from Canada, and
could.
he keeps bringing up. So when are we going to do the hockey one? We're all
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we're not
no,
big hockey. At least the people I know. The
yeah,
we uh we do the fantasy football, but that's about it. So those are your sports then, hockey and soccer.
yeah. If you had to, yeah, those are my top two
Who
favorite
are your
sports.
teams? Just out of curiosity.
Well, since I grew up on the West Coast, I grew up a Los Angeles King fan, and that was even before Wayne Gretzky, when they were still wearing the purple and gold. And then the Vancouver Canucks, because we would in Portland we would I remember my mom paying an extra like $12 a month, and that was a huge deal. 12 bucks doesn't seem like any, like we won't bat an eye like they get HBO or something like that now, but 12 bucks for the sport channel, and they showed Vancouver Canuck games, and so I was a huge Canuck fan as well. So Canucks and the Kings, and if I had to pick one now, it would be Vancouver because they're the closest. Well, I guess Seattle, but uh,
Yeah.
there's I have still have a hard time rooting for any team named Seattle just because of a little bit of a rivalry between Portland and Seattle. But no, I'm a Seahawk and Mariners fan if push comes to shove.
Seahawks. Well, I'm a big Cardinals fan, Arizona Cardinals, but just because of the whole home team.
Uh,
But I was born and raised because my dad's from Texas, Dallas fan, Dallas Cowboys. Yes, yes. Throw all your. I know everyone either really loves them or really really hates them.
I
Also,
hate I hate them.
my dad was a huge Dodger fan, so
Mm. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's something that's always been there for me too. Is the Dodgers,
yeah.
and then the home team on basketball, Phoenix Suns. Huge Phoenix Sun fan, huge.
Yeah, I grew up a big time Blazer fan of
Sorry,
in yeah in the
Clyde
'80s.
the Glide though. You had Clyde back then.
Yeah, we had some really good ones back then. It was in the '80s, but then I was again a bigger hockey fan, and we had the junior hockey team called the Portland Winterhawks, and a lot of players, even a couple of Hall of Famers that I got to see play when they were young, um, came through Portland, and so I was always a bigger hockey fan than I was basketball. So, and then they Blazers were kind of screwing with the hockey fans by raising the ticket prices and then making you pay for parking and then the Blazer fans were a lot ruder because they were a lot of corporate people would go to the games and stuff. So I always felt like, man, this is not like going to a hockey game. So I got soured on the Blazers, and to be contrarian, I became a huge Detroit Pistons fan right before the Bad Boys thing started taking off. Like
Oh,
in the
before
yeah,
the
86, 87.
80s. Yeah,
I was a big Bill Lambier fan, and oh man, I wore a Bill Lambier shirt, and I got so much. I mean, I got like halfway threats, like from my
being
parents.
damn.
Like, yeah, like no, go Detroit. And when Detroit played Portland in the championship, I was so happy. I'd be called up all my buddies and say, "Oh, yeah." So yeah, it was good memories there too. Yeah, you know that's so cool because even though I'm not like a huge movie buff, I I am in a way because now all the movies that
I mean, how can you not be back in art, but especially in R80 where we had uh Raiders of the Lost Ark, we had the original Star Wars, we had Goonies, we had I can't think right now, but just back then, the Lost Boys, we've had so much great movies back then. And if you think about it nowadays, they're just trying to replicate. I mean, like right now, Beetlejuice, that was from the 80s. I mean, they're just either trying to replicate or trying to go back to how movies were back when we were kids. And I can't blame them. They were great back then.
well, I'll watch even movies like in the '70s, like when I was a little kid, where I was not cognizant of anything and not aware. And I'll watch some of those movies, and I'm like, man, this is intensely good. Like, um, uh, The Deer Hunter. I mean, one of my all-time favorite movies.
I thought that was
Apocalypse.
a game. Apocalypse Now is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
to this day that they still replicate that whole sun and the helicopters
Yeah,
and like a bunch of different movies.
it and just the dialogue alone on some of these movies is
Yes.
so intense. Like out of the '70s and early '80s, like there's nothing. You, I mean, there are movies out there that are really good, but they don't have the same vibe to it. Like Robert De Niro of the '90s was not Robert De Niro of the '80s and '70s, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like
Agreed.
his talent just dropped off tremendously after the
It's like
'80s.
he played Robert De Niro
Yeah, yeah,
after he started getting it paid. He
yeah,
stopped acting.
yeah, yeah. No, I so I really am a movie buff, but it stops for me
Yeah.
like 92, 93, and then I'm like, there's great movies out there. Don't get me wrong, great shows, like, but here's a question that's kind of like Mod Squad style, because
No, a hot dog is not a sandwich.
yeah, right. In my world, it is still, but what television character, movie character resonates with you the most, like that you just you see them and you be like, man, that is a man's man, or that's just
Oh, Ricky Dicky Doo Dog Grimes, Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. That's a man's man right there.
yeah,
That's quick. Walking Dead, like I said, that's my main.
yeah.
Um, have you seen any of? Have you seen that show at all? Any episodes? Anything to do with
Well,
Walking Dead?
I am not a fan of the genre, and I'm not a horror fan or anything like that, so I always was a scaredy cat. I was the one that was like had to sleep in my mom's bed if I saw something scary. I was that big of a one. Well, the only child. I was raised by a mom, so I was a wimp.
So was I.
so so, but I remember my wife would watch the show, and so one day, I think it was like I remember season three it was season three. She was watching it, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for the next episode. So I just started watching it, and I started binge watching it, and then I went back to season two and season one, and I watched it all the way through. So I became a big Walking Dead fan. Now I don't know that as much inner workings of it, but um, I became a big fan of that that show, and then because the show that I really loved that came out was
Game of Thrones.
no, that was one that I can't get into. My wife loves it. She loved it. She binge watched that. Um, was Breaking Bad.
See, we watched that, and it was really good, especially as it went on. But to me, it just I don't know. It just go. Why did you like Breaking Bad so much?
The characters, um, a lot was character driven, and I kind of like the
You know what? The
anti-hero.
conversations, just you could sit there and watch Walter just talk,
Yeah,
and yeah, I get what you mean.
yeah. I really kind of always have been more the anti-hero kind of guy. So like one character that sticks out to me is Vic Mackey from The Shield. Like he's a real
I
piece of
love the Shield.
he was a real piece of shit, but at the same time, like he actually in a weird way did some things that are realistic in the sense that he was curbing crime with his crime. You know what I mean? But not something that I'm a very moral person. I don't want to go to prison, so that I don't do anything wrong. I'm very, but if you were going to pick a character that if you were going to do something wrong, I'd be more want to be more like Vic Mackey than I would want to be like a real bad guy. But anyway, so yeah, what I liked about Breaking Bad was just the dialogue, but there was the characters, the anti-hero characters. Then the level of a little bit of truth to the meth game.
Why they did what they did, yeah.
There are things that people don't talk about and discuss as far as the inner workings of how meth became so popular, and one of them is the fact that they had a German company that was supplying the pseudoephedrine in the supplies for the cartels to make the meth, and then of course Walter and that crew to do their thing was is without getting too crazy, it's very realistic. There's only two pseudoephedrine companies in the world, and one's from Germany and one is from India.
So it was
And the,
legit the way they portrayed that.
in my opinion, yes, from everything that I've heard and research, it was legit. There was an attorney general out of Oregon, and I don't know the specific inner workings of this, but an attorney general out of Oregon that brought into a law, and he tried to get it. I think it was passed that it was limiting the amounts of pseudoephedrine into the country, and then limiting the amounts of pseudoephedrine in the medication itself. And so what ended up happening was this is weird, but people that recovered from meth in this particular time had an easier time of recovery because it wasn't so potent,
Yeah,
and they started to curb a lot of it. But these companies are very powerful and they have a ton of money, and so they were able to overturn that law, and
yeah.
that attorney general was basically threatened out of existence in political life. So these companies, one from Germany, one from India, are extremely powerful, and nobody talks about them, of course. But it was funny.
See, you are like me. You like something, you're gonna dive into it and figure it out.
Oh yeah, like Kevin talked about wrestling. I won't watch a single match anymore because it's not in me. But I will binge watch everything from behind the scenes,
Oh, I
and
love behind the scenes stuff, yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, I was into it back in the day when it was Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Roddy Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake, the Bush Black Brothers, I think it was, Andre the Giant. I mean, I watched it and I remember the first handful of what's the yearly thing? Now I'm really having a senile moment. Yeah, the WrestleMania. I remember like the first five. We would all, my brother would get it. We would all go to his house, all the, my nephews and my brothers, and we'd watch the WrestleManias. And, but just, that just started to lose it for me. Like in the early 2000s, it's when I kind of stopped.
for me, it was probably the
What do you got
late.
there?
I got my. This is Gary here.
Hey, Gary.
This is it. He's a French bulldog. He is the biggest jerk.
Is he?
Yeah, he loves to fight. That's his favorite pastime besides loving on me. So I'm his human. So he's my best buddy. I got him to breed, but he was the first one that I got, and he he's we call him the one ball man. He's crypt orchid, so he can't breed, which is
I
disappointing.
wasn't a dog. I'm sorry about that. That's kind of sad,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
I wasn't a dog person until Cujo later sights on me. She was a baby, and I don't know what it is about her. Even to this day, she can do no wrong. She's the queen of this house. And you saw her. She's my little
She's
three
awesome.
pound, 3 pound chihuahua. I
I
love
love.
her.
Yeah, they're great dogs. I they add so much to people's lives. And if you're not a dog person, I don't expect people to get it. But if you are, you get it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I just growing up, oh, a dog's best, a man's best friend, and this. I never got it. I just didn't. I was
Hmm.
never, and I can honestly say I didn't like dogs at one point in my life. And um, we got Diamond. It was a birthday gift, and then her first litter was Cujo was the runt, and she was just a little one. She was a little pain in the ass. We got rid of most of them. We kept the little one, and she just we kept her and her brother actually, but she just like I said, she just latched onto me. She went on my bed, and I was like, "Why is this dog on our bed?" That's how much I wasn't a dog person. She sleeps with me like right here now. It went from "Why is this dog on our bed" to she's like she's my baby, man. She can, like I said, she can do no wrong.
Yeah, and I love hearing stories like that because I will interview people that are really deep into the dog world, even way more than I am, that started out like you, like, hey, dogs are just like, "Ugh, I don't want. Now they're just like so obsessed, and they know way more than any of us know. So yeah, I could see that happening for some people. Like if they give it a chance, they'll be hooked. Maybe that's why they don't want to.
Yeah, I don't even want to think. I don't even want to think. Uh, just she's 13. She's getting up there in age. Um, her eyesight's not as good. Her hearing's going. She's still a little badass. She's still a little badass.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially if someone comes over that she doesn't know, or we recently, like, we were comparing dog count the other day, and we recently got Paco, and we got him as a baby, and he just likes to play. Cujo's in that time of her life where she just sits on the couch, watches TV with us. She doesn't play. Paco runs around. He jumps on her. He jumps on the couch. We yell at him. We make sure all of our dogs are potty trained and everything. We keep them off the couches and everything. Except for Cujo, she can do whatever she wants. But but yeah, Paco, her and Paco just he tests her, and she just doesn't have it. They just don't get along at all, which I think is funny. It's funny to watch them go at it.
Yeah, little chihuahuas, they got big hearts, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to uh, like the content creation side of this, when you started getting into it and starting creating more content, what keeps you motivated to continue to do it
Well,
and then do things like this with me? Like it's
yeah.
so
Well,
important. And
first of all, I wish we would have started collaborating with other content creators way sooner than what we did. When we started the conversations, that made us have to go out looking for it, which at first it was really easy, but like us, I'm pretty sure we're gonna stay talking. We're gonna stay friends. Um, Brian Brown from the Daily Bank, Clay, Steve, um, Colin. I can name a handful that even after the conversations, we still stay. First of all, I think it's first we should have done it sooner because I didn't realize how open armed the whole content creators are with each other, help each other, run each other's shows. I'm here. You had Kevin, you even had Clay. It just I wish it's something we started sooner. Um, I don't know, man. It gets to me. The hardest part in doing what we do, though, is I love what I do. Like I can talk about movies all the time. I have a movie news and a horror news show. We do have the variety show weekend. Saturday show where we do our live. We just play games. We sit there, talk pop culture stuff, just BS, just hang out pretty much. Also, we have a giveaway every Saturday night. We Kevin and I, after we had the separation from Bam, we started to do again what made us happy. And I was doing the movie news stuff. He was doing the gaming and a wrestling show. We did have a wrestling show for a short while there because, again, Kevin, huge wrestling guy. Um, but we wanted to come back to do stuff just us, and that's what the conversations. But yeah, we early on we knew we weren't going to make money off of this, which we don't. We actually lose money every month putting out content, but we do it because we the fun. We have fun. We enjoy each other. I consider Kevin a best friend. We just to hang out. It's like hanging out with friends just with the camera on, pretty much. Is what how I describe it. And we record it and we put it out there. If other people want to watch, they do. They don't. They don't. I do feel we put out good content though, but that's I guess that's subjective. But yeah, I'm going to keep going as long as I have the desire to talk movies and hang out with Kevin, which right now I don't see us ending anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't either. This is a passion of mine, and I for
And I
sure.
have ideas. Like I'm always coming up with ideas. My thing is just the execution to get it going. But yeah, I have ideas when it comes to content creation, and I might bring it to the channel. It just depends. There's a couple things we've been talking about, but yeah, again, it's just as long as Kevin doesn't piss me off. I mean, I could stay doing this forever, man, because he's a great friend, a great partner to do this with. I keep honestly my life and my this like completely separate. Only my closest brother knows that I do this. Other than that, no one else in my family really does.
Yeah, I think people kind of realize it, like my friends
I
and
mean,
family.
eventually, yeah,
But I don't really like, I don't talk about it with a lot of folks. But yeah, I like the fact that you guys collaborate and do those sorts of things. And do you and I'll be honest, this is something that I would definitely would want to build and create a revenue stream from. So I'm I would not have said that 6 months ago out loud, but the more that I start to think about it, like I can't lie about it. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I'm not going to do it in a way where I lose myself or anything like that. And if the way I do it never comes to fruition, I don't care because, like you, I lose money out of this. But I'm gonna try. But if it doesn't, I'm still gonna do it. You know what I mean?
We've been doing this for close to I think we're over 5 years now. We've been doing it for over 5 years. So again, I don't see us stopping. This Kevin has something to tell me, but I don't think he does. We both and I've kind of he's also like branched out doing other things. I've been wanting to do that. I don't know if I want to bring it to the mod squad or also branch out, but there's also a bunch of stuff going on with me personally, so I need to get all that straight first and then see where we're gonna go. But yeah, the regular mod squad is not gonna stop anytime soon. It's just like hanging out with friends with a camera on.
It's not easy. You know what I mean? I don't think content creation is easy because I do feel sometimes the pressure because I do
Of
have people.
having to put a show. See, with us, we and this is by design by Kevin to have something out, whether it's a full show or just like a variety type BS show, a 5 minute show of us just talking or whatever. We want to have something constantly coming out just for the people that do watch us. We don't ever want to feel like we're selling ourselves short or them short. We always want to have something put out there, and I think the you know by Kevin by design, we've all adjusted to the so many episodes a week out, and once in a blue moon, just depending. Say if I'm having a bad week, I'm like, I don't feel it, but I never feel like I don't want to do this. Like rare do I feel like I don't want to put on the camera and talk to some friends about movies and such. I just it's something I actually look forward to, especially the lives on the weekends. The weekends I'm at a grandkid's birthday or I'm doing stuff. Kevin's like, just skip the show. I'm like, no, man, and I'll fly home to be here on time just to do the show on Saturdays.
You know, I'd have to say that I'm gonna go to Vegas um, for my wife's 50th, and I I I don't have I'm feeling cheap, so I'll probably still put out a video or work on something when I'm there. That's kind of like I'm the same way. So when you said that, it definitely resonated.
Yeah, even we go on a yearly camping trip with my mom. So when my mom passed that weekend, I mean everybody was off because you know it had happened, and my nephew's like, "Let's go camping." And we were like, "What? Let's just go. Let's just go camping." He's a big outdoorsy camping, fishing type person, and fuck, we said, "F it, let's just go." We all went camping, and then we're like, "Hey, you want to do it again next year, the same time?" Yeah, let's. And it just became something we do every year. This year's our 10th year going camping, um, for my mom basically. And everybody tries to get off, that tries to make it and go. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because last year I literally did the show from the campgrounds, with trees in the background and everything, because I'm like, I'm not going to miss the Saturday show, Kevin. So I did it out in the wilderness last year, out camping.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I get it. It's such a pull that if you don't, unless you have the passion, you understand it.
So
It it to me, it sometimes it does feel like uh, work, but it's work that means something to me. And as trivial as some of the subject matters may be in real life, you know what I mean? It's so important to me that I get it out, and or at least I pursue getting guests, and that's work in itself. You know what I mean?
you know what? If there's anything I can have someone else do for me at all, it's reaching out to get guests. That is the most. Yeah, I get you there. Trust me, I get you there. Especially with conversations now, I'm feeling it. Just reaching out. It's just the hard part, but getting to know people, like I said, I'm sure we're gonna stay talking. We're gonna stay, friends. The almost every single conversations guests we've had, I still talk to here and there. So, I hopefully we can collab again sometime soon, and either you there, me here. I can bring you on the movie show and make you talk movies with us, even though I know you're not a movie guy. But
Well, and that's the thing. I plan on, like I told Kevin and Clay, I said, part two. That uh, please don't say no if I ask you to come on again. And so, yeah, I'd
I
definitely
will.
love to come on, because there'd be, maybe we'll niche down on one subject matter or something like that. And
Agreed.
um,
I mean, I believe we talked for an hour before we turned on the
yeah,
cameras.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great, man. This is like because I'm a
Yeah,
homebody, and as you know, as the older you get, the family you have, and the less likely you are to. I don't want to make friends. This is easy for me, like
yeah,
because you and I are we're doing something similar. We have that kind of camaraderie that we're automatically going to be, and this is such a forefront in our lives, like that it's just easy it like if I go somewhere and if we're not talking dogs or we're not talking YouTube, I'm like even if I have knowledge about a subject matter, I just like it doesn't matter to me as much anymore. So
I feel you, man.
so some real to wrap up this episode a little bit, I do want to get into the geekiness side of me where I'm just so because
Do
I'm
it.
such into gear. Like we've already talked about it before, but I want to do it here too. Is like and you guys have the same similar type of questions on this level, but uh, iPhone or Android and why?
Android, just because I feel it's easier. I was a big BlackBerry person, and I did not want to go to Android like at all. And that's another thing. I still have all of my cell phones. I'll
Oh,
send you a picture after the fact. But it just my buddy had the iPhone, and every time he tried to show me something on it, first of all, I thought it was badass, but to me, it was just too hard to learn. And then I was told that it's basically like iOS, like Apple, and I knew that Windows was different, was more like an Android. And I knew Windows because of for work and for home and stuff. So I just kind of went with the Android route just because I thought it would be something I'd know and be easier to learn, which I still believe it's better and easier to learn than Apple, personally.
I find Apple easier to learn, but I think that if you're more tech savvy, I think Android is just way offers way more than Apple does, and so I it's funny because I'll see if you're not like into the content creation side or big into like creating video and photo, and that's it. I find that people that are a little more tech savvy have Android. I see all the IT guys at my job have an Android.
Okay.
It's interesting, and maybe that's just crazy anecdotal evidence, but I just see the people that want more out of their device
Would you
having
say Apple's more of a personal, like people that are it more to like it caters more to like your personal needs rather than because like Android doesn't have a Siri. I know Siri is a something that's kind of helps you more like an assistant type thing. Is Apple that per se rather than an Android? I'm assuming you've had both because you
yeah
talk like you've
yeah I've had both for sure. I've had both, and I still do because I last year I bought I traded in my old iPad for a Samsung uh, tablet, the
and
new.
doing that. Did you see any big differences in going from one to the other?
Well, yeah, in the tablet realm, you can't beat an iPad as far as like what I specifically would want it to do. Like this, I find Android lacking on that level. But where I find I could do way more with an Android tablet, I think that I could with as far as like being able to do multiple different things. They got the Samsung Decks where you can turn it into, you can turn it into like a
Stream
Windows
Deck.
Stream Deck type thing, and so, I mean, that's a cool thing. But for me, at where I'm at, Apple just makes more. more sense because of the content creation side of it. But if you are able to get more out of your device, I would say there's no reason to, except maybe if you wanted more capabilities on the editing side, because I know the it's hard to find a PC that
Good
can do.
editor.
Yeah.
Actually, Kevin has found one. I forget what it's called. I'm trying to learn it as we speak, and it's awesome. It's easy. It's really easy, and
What's it called?
honestly, I don't remember. I still use Windows Movie Maker, man. I still use they don't even put them on computers anymore, and I still use that's what I use to edit the Mod Squad videos. The Windows Movies Maker. It's just learning something new. It's like if I don't have to, why?
Yeah. Well, I started out with the easiest one that came with like it's the same thing, which is iMovie, right? It's the same thing what you're working with, and I found there are certain, especially when I went to using a streaming service instead of just using phone calls and stuff, recording phone calls. I found that I tried to use DaVinci Resolve. That was like you forget about it. It was so much more in depth than iMovie that it was harder to make that leap. Then I found CapCut, and CapCut has been my go-to. I use CapCut
Is it an
to
app?
yes, it's was specifically made. It's made by the same company that as TikTok, but they continuously update it, and it's got so many free things that you could do, and if you're really in depth with using that stuff, it's really easy to use. It's
Can
just
you
like
use it on the web as well, or is it something only on your phone?
you I use it on the computer and my phone. And I even like if I'm at work, and hopefully nobody at work is listening to this, I can split audio. Like I'll take the audio files from this and the video, so I'll edit it separately. I can have three files and easily edit it on my phone when I'm at work.
That's
It,
what's up.
it's a little more cumbersome than working on
Because the
my
movie
laptop.
maker, me and Kevin were talking the other day, and he's like, "Why don't you just slip in a picture here and slip in a picture there?" And I'm like, Kevin, it's not that easy. I use, don't forget, my what I use is about 10 years old, and back then slipping in pictures wasn't easy because I have to do this, that, and this to just to show a picture at that moment. What you were saying, instead of just flashing a picture, I'm like, and he's like, dude, you got. So he finally talked me into, and I'm trying to self. He walked me through it. He's walked me through it a couple times, but and I forget what it's called, but I'm trying to learn that. But I've heard the one you've said. I've seen it and I've heard it was easy too. But I'm if I can't get this one down, I may go to that one.
Yeah, give it a shot. I mean, maybe edit like a 1 minute clip or something like that, and just to practice. That's what I did, and it was pretty. I'm still learning. Like what I'm trying to figure out. I even paid the 9.99 a month now because to use the advanced stuff.
It's worth it for you.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to
See,
seamlessly.
there's another cost that you don't think about that just doing this. It honestly it Kevin and I, between both of us, and it's at this point, it's mainly Kevin at this point, but we do lose so a lot putting into this. Putting new computers, like I was saying earlier, we have the had to get the fiber internet, just so the quality is just that much more better. For the editing, Kevin, he everything has to be 4K with him. He always has to pay that little bit more for 4K. um, Even in our software, we used to have a Restream. We paid for the $20 one, but we needed the 4K one, so we paid the $30 more for the $50 one for 4K when we had Restream. And it's the same with the EVMux. The basics 20, but with 4K, we use the $50 one. So that's just another cost on top of another cost on top of another cost. It's so costly. Sometimes it's disheartening. It's just like
Yeah, and
not that
that's
we again, not that we want to get anything out. We love doing this, but it's getting to the point where our hobby it's taking a lot. It's taking a lot.
I'm probably, if I did the numbers
How much are you in a month?
from what I bring in to what I spend, I'm probably it's probably over $100. Now, let's say I didn't make the $80 a month because I don't get paid every month on YouTube. Let's say I make $85 a month on YouTube, so every other month I'll get that money because it's that $100 threshold. So I'll count that 85, and then I have Patreon, and then I do Spotify. Um, I will that's probably that's not a lot of money. So let's say 150, 180 bucks, and if it would probably be closer to 300 if I didn't bring in that little bit of money that I make.
Yeah,
And you're right, it is disheartening, but for me right now, I'm just being real with myself. I'm going to make a push and try to make more of a revenue stream. Whether I can ever remotely think about going full time, I'm not necessarily worried about. But what I'm trying to do is that I can have some pocket change and use it, build a business out onto that. Like, my dogs are be one revenue stream. Hopefully, maybe my podcast someday be a revenue stream, and then maybe getting more into the review side of things, I can use some of that as a revenue stream. So, I'm good. I'm thinking about it, but like you, honestly, man, it's I can have all the passion and the drive in the world, but when it comes to putting rubber to the road, sometimes that's real life takes precedent, and real life kind of brings you down because you're tired. Your
yeah,
motivation level isn't here all the time, and so you got to strike while the iron's hot. And I'm not one of these people that can just push through that. So
yeah.
I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. But that is my ultimate goal, is to be able to get a decent revenue stream out of this. And I'm not saying anything like 5,000 a month. If I could get 1,000 a month, yeah,
That
I'd be
would be
so
awesome.
happy. You know what I mean? It would pay for it, and I'd have a little bit of scratch in the end, and it'd be fun, and it'd be motivating and stuff. So um, I I see this not as necessarily like
I'd be
a
happy if we broke even.
right now. I mean, yeah, I guess I should say that. I should say that. I would be happy if I broke even for sure. If everything paid for itself, I'd be super happy. But the amount of money that like I specifically bought this computer to do this. I bought lights now. I mean, and it's just rudimentary, but you know what it is.
Hmm.
If I spend $25 on a little stream light here, you know what I mean? That's a lot to me, and I, you know,
25 that could have went towards a bill or something. Trust me, I get
yeah.
it. I get it.
I got a $600 truck payment. We had to buy two cars. The engine blew on one of our cars, and then another car was getting to 15 years old. So in a year span, we have two new cars now. I'm like, oh my god! So
I
and then
get it.
you know, so
I've had just like everything else. I'm I don't know what is it about me. Like, say when we did buy new cars back in the day, oh, you could trade it in 2, 3 years. No, once I buy a car, it's my car. Get a house. Oh, just you can get another. No, once I get a house, that's gonna be my house. And I guess I'm like, and I strive to always be the best. I've technically only had one job my whole life,
Wow.
and it got me to where I'm at today. So I can't argue. Could it have been a better job? By far, I think I was qualified to do more. And back in the day, I would work so much that I feel like I wasn't there as much as my kids needed me to be there. Um, like my mom did with me, I got them everything they wanted monetarily. They had what they wanted, but I wasn't here. And at the time, it would take an hour and a half to get to work, an hour and a half to get home, on top of the long day at work. It just, I was so trained. But again, it did get me to where I'm at today, so I can't complain. All right,
All right. Thanks,
I'm
Felix.
easy, man. I'll
All right.
see you
Good.
soon.
Good talking to you.